Hello viewers, welcome to my channel IITJ Olympiads and AP Physics with Ambarish. And in today's video, I have brought a question from Pathfinder, Rotational Mechanics. Check your understanding, question number 40. It was requested by one of my students, and therefore I am doing this video. And it's a very nice question, and there's a very nice concept involved here. So stay tuned till the end. So let me read out the question. So here's the question: a light rod of length L pivoted at its lower end on the ground can rotate in any direction. So here is a rod, and you can think of this as a ball and socket joint and frictionless ball and socket joint, and so this rod can just be pivot about this freely in any direction. Okay, a particle of mass m is affixed at its upper end and the rod is held at an angle theta naught is equal to 37 degrees. So this angle is given as 37 degree, and here there's a ball of mass m and this rod is light. Okay, 37 degree from vertical as shown in the figure. Now the particle is given a horizontal velocity u is equal to root 2 meter per second perpendicular to the rod. So so we are giving it a velocity into the page. You can think into the page the velocity given is u is equal to root 2 meter per second. Okay, perpendicular to the rod. Okay, and it's a horizontal velocity, so it is perpendicular to the page, into the page. Okay, at an instant in the subsequent motion when the rod exerts no force on the particle, that is when the tension in this rod is 0, what is the angle theta made by the rod with the vertical, and what is the horizontal component of velocity of the particle which is perpendicular to the rod? So at some point of time it turns out that the tension in this rod will become 0, and at that instant we have to find what is the angle theta made by the rod with the vertical and what is the component of velocity in the horizontal direction perpendicular to the rod. So that's what we are asked. And what is given? Acceleration of free fall is given as g is equal to 10 meter per second square. So if you want, you can try out this problem. You can pause the screen and try it out, and then you can have a look at my solution, or you can have a look at my solution right away. I'll get into the analysis. Okay, so let's see. So first of all, an important concept is involved in this problem, and let me prove and explain that concept. So what's that concept? Whenever a point moves with a speed v maintaining a constant distance L from a fixed point, then the component of its acceleration along the line joining the particles is a naught is equal to v square by L. So what do I mean by this? For example, let's say this is a fixed point and this is a point which is moving on at a fixed distance from this. So in general, what will be the locus of, let's say, this point P? If it is maintaining a fixed distance from O, then it will be moving on the surface of a sphere somehow. Okay, so the claim here is that no matter how this particle moves on the surface of the sphere, the component of its acceleration along this line should be equal to v square by L if its instantaneous velocity is v. So I hope you got the claim, and now I am going to plane, even if the motion is not planar. Of course, in planar motion, you know that centripetal acceleration is v square by r, so this is trivial in case of planar motion, but it doesn't seem so obvious to the students in case of motion along the surface of a sphere, or in general you can say one particle moving at a fixed distance from another particle in three-dimensional space. Okay, so now let's look at the proof. So this figure I'll be referring to, and what I've written, see, if a particle is pivoted to center of a sphere, a small segment of its path can be treated like portion of a circle. So for example, if this particle is moving at constant distance from O, then on surface, let's say it moves a little bit, then whatever its path, small segment of this path can always be treated as part of some circle lying on the sphere. Okay, just small part. It doesn't matter, I mean the circle may be big or small depending on how the particle is exactly moving along the surface, but there will exist some surface which will be approximating the path of the sphere. The small segment of the path can always be approximated by a circle. Okay, so now in circle, of course, let's say the radius of the circle is r and its instantaneous speed is v, then centripetal acceleration is v square by r, and then this acceleration is nothing but component of this v square by r along this direction, along in this direction. So this acceleration is v square by r, so this acceleration is v square by r sine theta, and it doesn't matter even if we have tangential acceleration, that tangential acceleration is anyway perpendicular to L, so that tangential acceleration will not have any component along L. only the centripetal acceleration will have some component, and that will be equal to v square by r into sine theta, as clear from this figure. And you can also see that r is nothing but L sine theta. So things are going to get simplified. So let me show you formally. So a small segment of this path can be treated like portion of a circle drawn on the surface of sphere. Let the radius of such a circle be r, as shown in the figure. Centripetal acceleration is v square by r, and acceleration component towards O then becomes simply a naught is equal to AC sine theta. AC is this and AC sine theta, and that is v naught square by r into sine theta. Now what is r? R is nothing but L sine theta. See, this is your r and this is your L, so r is nothing but L sine theta. So you put it over here and you get a naught is equal to v square by r, v square by L. So you can use this wherever you have this kind of spherical kind of geometry coming in. So component of acceleration along the line joining the particles or line joining the center to the particle will always be v square by L. The Pathfinder book says that this is the center of curvature. I am not sure if I should agree with that, because this could as well be path could as well be a circle whose center of curvature for a planar body. I would say this is the center of curvature, but Pathfinder says this is the center of curvature. I'm not sure if that's the correct way of saying, but definitely the component of acceleration will be v square by L. It's not that this particle is going along this circle. So if it were going along this circle, I would have been comfortable saying that this is the center of curvature. I don't think we should be calling this point as the this O as the center of curvature if the path is like this. So but that's it. That's how the hint is given in Pathfinder. I'm not sure if that's correct, but definitely this result is correct. So I hope you got this result, how we arrived at this result. Now once you know this, now we can easily do the question number 40. Let's see, let's come to the current problem. So now let's say theta is that angle at which the tension vanishes, and then let v1 be the component of velocity of this mass perpendicular to the page, and let's say v2 is the component of velocity in the plane of the page, and of course v1 and v2 will be mutually perpendicular, and of course there will be no radial velocity because of the constraint that distance has to be fixed from O. So that's how I've defined the variables. v1 component of velocity perpendicular to plane ZOP. So this is your ZOP. So and v1 is into the page, and v2 is component of velocity in the plane ZOP. Okay. Now see, gravity is acting in the vertical downward direction. So the torque of gravity is what? So r cross f, if you take r cross f is into the page, and the component of that torque along the line OZ is obviously 0, because this torque is perpendicular to the line OZ. So I can say that the torque of gravity about vertical axis is 0. So I can conserve the angular momentum about the vertical axis. Note that about the point angular momentum is not conserved, but about the vertical axis the angular momentum is conserved, because torque is 0 about the vertical axis. So this is the equation that you get for conservation of angular momentum about vertical axis. So initially, so this is L, so this distance becomes L sine theta naught. So MUL sine theta naught is the initial angular momentum, and here v1 is the velocity perpendicular to this distance, and therefore this angular momentum about this axis is simply m v1l sine theta. So this is the conservation of angular momentum, first equation. Okay. Now other equation I can use is, since there is a frictionless pivot, so mechanical energy loss will not be there, so I can conserve mechanical energy. So initial potential energy, you see vertical height is L cos theta naught, and here the vertical height is L cos theta, and kinetic energy here is half mu square. So half mu square plus mgl cos theta naught, that's the initial mechanical energy. I'm taking this as the reference for gravitational potential energy, and this should be equal to what? Here the potential energy is mgl cos theta, and of course speed is the square of sum of the squares of these two speeds, and taking the under root. So kinetic energy is simply half m v1 square plus v2 square. So this is the equation of conservation of mechanical energy. Also realize that when the tension in this is 0, that means what? This ball has got vertical acceleration g, because then mg is the only force acting on this ball. If mg is the only force acting on this ball, then its acceleration is g downwards, or we can say its acceleration in this direction should be what? In this direction acceleration should be simply g cos theta, right? Because this angle is theta and this is g cos theta. And this acceleration should also be equal to v square divided by L, which is v1 square plus v2 square divided by L. So this is our third equation. So g cos theta simply becomes v1 square plus v2 square divided by L. So this is your g cos theta in this direction, right? And this is the result that I just proved. using the sphere, and here I have just used that same result. Okay, now look at equations 4, 5 and 6. Of course m can be cancelled out here, here also m can be cancelled out throughout, and the only unknowns in equations 4, 5, 6 are simply theta, v1 and v2. These are the only three unknowns. So we have three unknowns and we have three equations. So then you know that if that's the case, then the system is solvable. So you can just try to eliminate and substitute, and then you will arrive at the solution for all these three variables. I did it using a computer algebra system, so I have just not shown all my dirty work here. So I just simply solve these three equations, and what do I get after solving this? I get cos theta as u square plus 2gl cos theta naught upon 3gl, which is the same as what answer is given in the Pathfinder. And the other component v1 was asked, this perpendicular to the rod. If you calculate v1, it comes out to be this. This answer is not given in Pathfinder. In Pathfinder only the numerical answer is given. By the way, this happens for cos theta, theta is equal to 53 degree according to the given numbers. And for this also Pathfinder is given the numerical value, but this is what you will get as the expression. So that was my analysis for Pathfinder rotational mechanics. Check your understanding problem 40. Hope you liked the analysis, and if you like the analysis, please do give a thumbs up to my video, and please share this video as much as possible with your friends who are preparing for IIT JEE or Olympiads through WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, or Discord server, or whatever media you use for collaborating with them for IIT JEE or Olympiad problem discussions. And most importantly, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. I'll be bringing out a lot of awesome stuff in the upcoming videos, and it's the subscribers who keep me motivated to post new videos every day. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video, and God bless you all.